Is Dr. Venkata Kiran Chakravadhanula, sir. I'm so sorry. He is the lead of strategy and R&D at Skyroot Aerospace Pvt. He has previously served as the director R&D at Ananta P. He was as a scientist of VSSC ISRO and as scientific staff at Christian Albrecht's University. He is give me, I'm really sorry. Yes, he has been awarded the Outstanding International Student Award as DAAD. He has also been awarded the Outstanding Scientist of HIU KIT ABAP Gold Medal and Excellence in Microscopy in recognition for application of electron microscopy by the Electron Microscopy Society of India. He has also published about 100 scientific papers, and he also has a patent in omnidirectional transparent conducting metal-based plasmonic nanocomposite. Sir, if you are here, yes, sir. I'm extremely sorry for mispronouncing your name.
No issue. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. We can hear you, and you're visible, sir. I'll just hand over to you, sir.
Okay, so you have enabled the screen recording.
Yes, sir.
So that is what is causing. Just a second. Can you see my screen now?
Not yet, sir.
Screen. Just a second. So can you see my screen now?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. We can see it, sir.
Great. So first of all, I would like to thank all of you for inviting me, and primarily Rishi Raj for his patience in calling me repeatedly and asking me for the presentation. Really appreciate your patience, and apologies that I could not give you the title and things well before ahead. So as most of you are very much interested in what Skyroot is doing, so I'll try to present you some of the glimpses of what Skyroot is doing. Okay. And then I would like to make it a little bit, like a topic where you can also ask questions. So feel free to ask questions, note down your questions. We can have a brief talk about the questions also. So as you know, Skyroot is India's leading private space launch company. And we are a national award winning startup, and we are trying to make launch of rockets very much reliable, affordable, and as demand progresses, we need to cater to the demand. And currently we are a team of around 150 people plus and growing, with a current overall cumulative experience of over 600 years in the rocketry or rocket industry. So we were established in 2018, and in 2019 we were doing a lot of design and manufacturing, even currently also. And then we are going, we also have done a lot of manufacturing qualification. And currently we are in the process of finalizing our launch vehicle towards launch by the end of the year. And in the process, we also have a lot of launch service agreements which have been signed. We also have successfully demonstrated the propulsion systems by using liquid propulsion technology, solid propulsion technology, cryogenic propulsion technology, which I'll also show it to you in the next slides. And this is the Vikram series of launch vehicle, which is going to be launched from Skyroot. And this is our leadership team, Pawan and Bharat. They are quite young. They are founders of Skyroot Aerospace, CEO and COO. Both of them have experience of working in the Indian Space Research Organization at VSSC, and also an alumnus of IIT Kharagpur and IIT Madras. Pawan was also listed in Forbes 30 under 30. Then we have in our team, leadership team, Padma Shri Jnana Gandhi Garu. And then we have Mr. Amadeep, Mr. Yajna, Mr. Sirish, and this is me, myself, Kiran. And then we have Kunal Gupta and Dr. Mr. Ishwaran. So in various roles. So as I was telling you previously, we had successful firings of different propulsion technologies. So what you see on the left-hand side is a solid motor, which is used in one of the stages of the launch vehicle or the rocket. And then we have a liquid propulsion system test firing, which is called named after Sir C.V. Raman, and the solid propulsion system is named after our former president, Dr. APJ Abdul Kalam. And then we have our cryogenic engine, which was successfully test fired, which is named after Mr. Satish Dhawan. So you see that a variety of propellants are used and a variety of technologies are used, ranging from advanced technologies of 3D printing to advanced technologies or state-of-the-art technologies of composites. So these are the launch vehicles of Skyroot. So what we can see, Vikram 1, Vikram 2, and Vikram 3. These, all three of them are built on common upgradable architecture. That means that you can upgrade them from Vikram 1 to 2 and 2 to 3. And these cater to the needs of demand-driven nature of small satellite launches in the country and also in the world. So depending on their capacities, the fuel loading, and their structure, they have different types of payload capacity. That means the satellite weights can be tuned in such a way that they go from 200 kilograms into a particular orbit called sun-synchronous polar orbit to around 720 kilograms by using Vikram 3 into the low Earth orbit. So these things change depending on the necessity of the customer or the person. So Skyroot also offers a lot of dedicated launches, custom orbits, ride shares, constellation services, catering to the leads of various activities which are in the process of launching rockets or launching launch vehicles. So when we come to the worldwide scenario where we are you able to see this slide? Clearly, all the numbers.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Yeah. So you can see these are the launches which are done by China, USA, and Russia since 2017. So just for your understanding, the top part of the thing, 2017 to 2021 are the number of launches compared to China, USA, and Russia. You see how many satellites they have launched in the year 2017, 18 launches by China, 30 launches by US, 20 launches by Russia. And India was very good. We had 5 launches, successful, and 1 had failed. And as we go on towards 2018, we had 7 launches, and the Chinese rose further on to 39 launches per year. Of course, there were also failures. But then we had COVID, which had come by the end of 2019, where 2020 was a disaster and we had only 2 launches. And then Chinese, despite COVID, had 39 launches. And US had 44 launches despite COVID. And Russia had 17 launches with no failures due to COVID. And then 2021, we had 2 launches. One of it was a partial failure or a partial success. And then Chinese had 55 launches. And then when you see the numbers, how the worldwide scenario of launch activities is increasing, yeah, it's where are we? We have to question ourselves. We need not question the governments, but we have to question ourselves because we are part and parcel of the whole process which is going on. And then launches is one aspect. On the other hand, we also need to know about what are going to be launched into space if we have launches, satellites. So if you look at the satellite and compare it only with China, where we have, very important strategic relations or critical relations, you can see that from 2019 to 2021, not before, okay? So 2019, you already see that the Earth observation satellites, that means which can observe the Earth. 30 of them were launched by China, whereas India launched 4 in 2019. So it's not about how many launches, it's about how many satellites are in orbit. So 34 satellites were in orbit from China in 2019. And after that, we had COVID, and they had 33 launches of Earth observation. And India had 1 due to COVID. Yeah, we attribute everything to COVID. And in 2021, China had 60 launches of Earth observation satellites, and India had none. Yeah, and you see communication satellites, space science technology satellites, technology demonstrations. Where are we? Yeah, so just an eye opener for all of us where we have to work and where there is a huge potential. And what we looked at the imagery strength of China in the current scenario. Currently, all of you know that China is also aiding Pakistan towards their space systems or space technologies in providing information about everything that has been openly announced. Despite COVID, they had 60 Earth observation satellites, along with advancing its own, Chinese own space launch capabilities from the private sector. So luckily, we were also happy that in 2020 May, we also had our Prime Minister who announced the space policy and draft space policy, and it went towards private players entering into the space ecosystem. So, but what happened in China is that they were able to launch Beijing 3, a small 1-ton commercial Chinese satellite. So in approximately 42 seconds, this Beijing 3 satellite can capture images of a large area around any US city, for example, sharp enough to identify a military vehicle on the street and tell what type of weapon it might be carrying. And it is also coupled with artificial intelligence on board and can monitor up to 500 areas of interest around the globe, and with nearly 100 visits a day. So you can imagine their capacity as of now in the satellite imagery. It is supposed to be the best as of now. So now coming to the point, which branch of engineering are we talking about when we come to aerospace? Most of the people think aerospace is only aerospace. Aerospace involves lots and lots of branches of engineering. Please don't be on the misconception that it is only aerospace. It also depends on which field you are excelling in. There's a huge amount of opportunity which is available in launch vehicles, that means rockets sectors, ranging from mechanical engineering to avionics, electronics, and even civil engineering. Someone has to construct the launch pads where the rockets can go, right? So we need a lot of civil engineers also. So no branch of engineering as we normally have that in perception that, yeah, IT is the most superior. Yeah, civil is not good at all. It's not at all like that. Each and every branch of engineering is equally important. Without all the branches working hand in hand, nothing is possible. Coming to the fact that if we launch rockets, we also need satellites. So satellite building industry, semiconductor industry, a lot of services which are associated with the satellites. A lot of debris which is going into the space needs to be cleaned. Lots of utilities which need to be made. Lots of utilities in terms of refueling in the space. Activities where the robotics is involved. Manpower and skill development is a major thing which is currently going on with the help of these new draft space policy. And aerospace leadership is an area that has immense potential currently. And currently we have the Atmanirbharta, or the strategic necessity in the aerospace sector. So that is a very important point what all of us need to know. So budget allocations for the aerospace and defense sector has been changed in a massive way, where the entire face of the defense and aerospace sector has been changed. That means that one needs to utilize these funding in an effective and efficient way, so that it will be beneficial both for the company or the individual and or the country as such. So we have to be very clear in which direction we can grow. So coming back to the point, we were successful in that point to say that we successfully signed the first MOU, Memorandum of Understanding, with Department of Space, ISRO, for utilizing their facilities. Then Dr. Sivan was still the chairman of ISRO. We also won a lot of startup awards, National Startup Award 2020. And Pawan was also listed in Forbes 30 under 30 as the only person from Asia. And we were also listed as top 7 startups from LinkedIn. And yeah, we also won some awards of Granville for our technology, and also from the best innovator for the innovation technology from the state of Telangana. We also have to raise funds. Nothing is so easy. We also raise funds on a regular basis. So we were also, listed on as the top space startup which has acquired the maximum amount of funding in the current scenario. So this is a briefing about Skyroot, what I have given you. Now I would like to interact with you. What are your questions in this field? Because most of us have the misconceptions that this is not going to work in this direction and this is going to work in this direction. This field is good, this field isn't good. So now I would like each one of you to ask questions rather than me presenting something out to you. So,
Sure. Was someone speaking? Okay. So, like for everyone else, if you have questions, please put it up in the chat box. We'll be happy to take it up with sir. But so to start with, I think we have a question which is, because it's a space sector, there's like huge technological barriers for a startup to start up in the sector. How hard or how easy has it been for your company? And what do you think like the scenario is for a startup in the space sector?
it is always hard. It is not rosy at all. Any company for that matter, whenever we start, it's going to be tough time. Okay? It not only involves one technology. When it comes to the space sector, it involves multiple technologies which need to be catered to. So that is the reason it is not at all rosy. We need to raise investments. A lot of things going on in this direction are always, going to be there for any startup in the initial days.
Right, sir.
So can all the people ask questions, or all of them are wantedly on mute and typing the questions?
No, so they can ask questions, like they can unmute too.
So I am really telling you, please utilize this opportunity, ask questions rather than me presenting to you something which might not be useful to you.
Sure. So people you heard.
It is more important to be interactive rather than, staying mum. Yeah?
Absolutely, sir.
And no question is wrong. No question is wrong. Please just ask. And there might also be questions which I can't answer. In such a case, I have to accept. And we have to learn.
So just one more question, I think, for now. So you spoke of India, and you showed us the statistics of India lagging significantly behind USA and China. And USA might, it has had a lot of time in the space race. But so maybe with China, like what are the reasons India is lagging so far behind? And is that, is it possible to even overcome that maybe 5, 10, 15 years down the line?
It has to be possible, right? We want our country.
Yes, sir.
All of us are patriotic enough, and we have to be very strong in that direction. So one of the most important point where I see that we lag is that if we see any object that we want or a technology what we want, for example, most of you are from mechanical engineering, right?
Yes.
So in mechanical engineering, the latest technology or latest advancement in the manufacturing sector, what do you say about it? What is it? Has someone, I'll just answer your question, so Pratik, has someone ever thought of 3D printing or additive manufacturing?
Yes, sir. We've been reading a lot about.
Exactly. So initially it started off with plastics, and then it ended up into metal 3D printing, right? So now people are even printing ceramics, and near net shapes are possible with such a high precision. For that matter, we were also first in the country to first time print the metal part of the thrust chamber or the thrust chamber of the launch vehicle or rocket, wherein it took us 2 days to print such a system. But just imagine such systems are possible nowadays worldwide in 2 hours. And whenever we look at such a thing, we always say, okay, we can use that printer, but we never think of making that printer. A day will come, for example, in a crisis situation where all the countries will not give us a technology. For example, they will say, India will not get 3D printers. What will we do in that such a scenario? We need to develop technologies. Atmanirbharta is very important. This is just an example of a 3D printing technology because you all are from the same field. Yeah. And 3D printer, to make a 3D printer, how easy is it? Or how difficult is it? Is it only mechanical engineering? No. It involves mechanical, electronics, IT, all these things. So we have to think of not using a 3D printer to make our systems, but rather we have to think of excelling in making these ground segments also, or the base units. So our mentality in the mind should change from using, but rather making these instruments. And we are not dumb. We can make much better because all those instruments which are made abroad, most of them are contributed by Indians. So how difficult is it for such deep tech companies to raise funds, as previous startups in India mostly have been consumer focused? Yes, raising funds is very, very important. Yes, I totally agree. And it is also difficult. It is not so easy. You need to go into multiple rounds of discussion. We never know who the other person is giving all the information, what you talk to him, although they are bound by NDAs. Yeah, it is difficult. And Skyroot has been constantly raising funds. And currently we are in the process of raising funds of around $50 million again.
I'm just talking so basically, the problem what I see is that the profit is in these kind of industries are much in the future, very much in the future. Like it will take around 10-15 years to generate profit. So like the VCs in India, they tend to focus on companies who have a shorter term in which they can be profitable actually or break even. So how do they change their amount? How did you change their mindsets to focus on these type of companies?
How do you change the mindset of VCs? It's very difficult to change the mindset of VCs. But the only thing is target those VCs who are relevant. Don't target those VCs who are just coming out for the sake of getting equity and want returns immediately. This aerospace sector is a sector which has a lead time and it is a capital intensive sector. Yeah, but it is not the case with all the other sectors, right? All the other sectors are not so much capital intensive.
Yes.
And you get your revenues quite fast. But in the case of aerospace, it's different. But of course, people are now understanding this one, because otherwise, if people within the country are not going to invest, people from abroad are going to come back and invest.
Yes.
So if you look at the way in which Rocket Labs or, for example, SpaceX is going, it's very difficult to catch them because the amount of funds what they have compared to the amount of funds what we have in India and the amount of development what we are doing currently. Yeah, it is all directly proportional.
Yes, actually, in Europe, actually, the goals are kind of different. Like they have government-funded projects, and along with corporates, and they develop technologies. That kind of focus would have been much easier. Like, it would have
Yeah.
helped companies also.
Yes, that is good in one point. But if you look at the other point where you say development of my country is important, right?
Yes.
In such a case, you would not be possible. It would not be possible for us to serve the governmental sector a lot if we do from abroad. As of now, still we are on the 51% Indian share in most of the things. On the other hand, as you were rightly said, the grants in the aerospace sector are a little less. If you look at the grants, the way in which NASA supports SpaceX through their grants, ISRO has not yet come up to that point where it could support that, or the Department of Space even has not yet come. But we think or we believe that the draft space policy, once it comes into the actual space policy and the space transportation policies much coming into the actual realities of implementation, things would all change. In which field mainly your R&Ds are focused, like aerodynamics, thermal, control system? Yes, all these fields. You name a topic, I'll tell you yes. So we work in, we have strong teams on avionics, aerodynamics, thermal systems, control systems, manufacturing, propulsion technologies. What else? Safety. People don't consider safety as the main thing. It's a very important thing. Quality control, project management. All these things are part of Skyroot's, teams. So, how many of you are aiming towards, now a question to all of you, how many of you are aiming towards starting your own startup, and what do you feel are some of the conditions what you think might be necessary or are necessary for you? Conducive environments, I mean. No one wants to have a startup? Everyone want to work at an organization? Or all of you want to go abroad to study? What are your plans?
From what I feel, actually, that our BTech level knowledge is not that much enough for like developing a startup in the field of aerospace or any other like electrical or mechanical or any other field. Like for CS and IT, the most of the companies in India or startups in India are basically consumer focused, and they are like basically new business models for existing products. Actually, developing the supply chain and improving the supply chain. That's what they do. So that kind of thing is much easier to do rather than like develop a knowledge system which comes after a PhD or after masters. So I think.
Do you know how many people make their own satellites and send it into space?
Yeah, actually, a lot of the colleges in India have their satellite making.
As of now, I can tell you a lot of your age group people send their satellites on actually orbital experiments. So they send their satellites by working with rocket clubs or teams. They form teams, they get into competitions. They launch their satellites onto the rockets, into the space, sorry. Yeah?
Yeah.
So why don't you have such a thing wherein you focus on a particular thing of interest to you and your department? You have no boundary conditions now, because you have your entire team ranging from instrumentation or electronics to, mechanical. Build a satellite, form a team of 30-40 people. Schools started doing that nowadays in India. The space, if you are interested in the space ecosystem, you need to come forward, form a team. And this team is not going to be only from the 1 year batch. It will be continuous. Let it be continuous. Let the next generation also continue on it if you are not able to finish. But start it.
Excuse me if I can jump in. So yeah, thank you. I think to answer to the students' questions also from the institute side. So my name is Dr. Vidyut Pal. I'm the professor in charge of SME, the Society of Mechanical Engineers, who is organizing this event. Now, I think Supratik asked, like as a BTech level student, probably they do not have right expertise or right knowledge to set up startups. Now, at this point, probably I would like to mention or highlight that we have got this initiative by the institute, like Institution Innovation Council, and they are trying to create awareness among the students in terms of creating startups, creating entrepreneurship, creating innovation activities among the student communities. And they have been holding a series of events throughout the year over the last few years, only to foster the culture of entrepreneurial ecosystems. So if you have got some ideas that you would like to explore, I think this is the time maybe you can start thinking of it. And if you need any support, at least institute is ready, I think, in terms of giving you the mentorship that you may need to explore opportunities in terms of creating startups and entrepreneurship activities.
So when you want to have, Rishraj has posted a question. We all at BTech level, I totally agree that you have this sort of an inferiority complex. I totally agree to that point. But why? For what are you fearing? There's nothing like before. Nowadays, everything is open only for startups. You come up with startups, you have huge amount of funding. You cannot imagine the amount of funding what is there for the startups. It all needs to be projected with a proper pitch deck when you want to raise funds. Yeah. And say, as long as you are within, a startup, you can also incubate yourself, or, you can associate yourself with a particular incubator service, which is of use for you. You just need to pitch in the proper things, pile them all together in the form of a proper presentation, show it, present it. And when you go, you have funding ranging from 10 lakh rupees to 25 lakh rupees as the initial seed fund from variety of incubation units throughout the country. And for example, Karnataka also has the Karnataka Elevate program. Just as an example for you, like that, different states will have, different programs to encourage the startups. You have to pitch in properly, step by step, what you want to achieve. And then also show the amount of funding what is needed. Finally, also showing the sustenance, or how do you plan to sustain the entire company. It's very easily said, but it's not so easy. But it takes some time until you bridge the entire, pitch deck. You have to convince multiple people. You form a group. Mostly it forms at your level with groups of people who are like-minded people, get together and form it. And please don't be, you are not low only because you are coming from a college. Not at all. Not that only IIT people are, bright minds in the world. No, not at all. You are equally good. It all depends on your interest, how much you can put in. Take care a lot about, that you don't go into patents and IP issues with other companies. Do a lot of homework, how you compare yourself with your idea with the other companies which are associated with you. And no need to get scared. You can ask help from a lot of people, take their support. A lot of startups are there down in the ecosystem of India. Take their help. All of them will be definitely willing. It only depends on how you project your idea. That is also an art of selling your idea proper way. So, and take the bold step. We need the startups for building the new India. And it is not possible with, the existing Vyavastha. And the PM always says, if you remember, Vyavastha badalna hai. The only thing, the ecosystem of entire new startups has to come and has to change the entire, supply chain, what you are talking about, if you think about a particular product line. So one more thing which I also feel is that you should also be open when you invite people like me. You should talk, ask questions. No need to be shy. For what? Only because you are from BTech? No, not at all. You just need to be open, talk, ask questions. No question is foolish question. Unless and until you ask, you don't get an answer. Or even for that matter, there might be instances where the person himself who's speaking doesn't know the answer for that. It happens many a time.
Hello, sir.
Yeah. Swapnil, go
Hello,
ahead.
sir. I had one question that the Elon Musk's company, that is SpaceX,
Mm-hmm.
is having a long-term goal of planning the Mars colonization.
Mm-hmm.
Like that, so what is the long-term goal for your company?
Yeah. You're also having a lot of long-term goals, Swapnil.
Yes.
So some of them are to build reusable launch vehicles so that we can launch a rocket almost every week. That is our long-term goal. We want to launch a rocket every week or a rocket every 15 days. This would be an ideal scenario, you know, fantastic, where people can just put their things on the rocket, get your things into the space. But what are your plans, Swapnil? Now that you know that Elon Musk is doing such a thing of colonizing Mars, what do you think from your perspective would be very important?
So the Starship that is proposed will be
That is
manufacturing and as well as the launching.
exactly. So when you think from that perspective, launch vehicle or, you know, the Starship, what he's proposing is very important. But what else could be important? For example, what are the other fields which will be associated with it? So once you land there, you might not have anything, right?
So like 3D printing of the home structures.
Absolutely. So 3D printing of home structures is very important. And when you go from here to there, it depends on how long it takes, what happens in space to your body, human body. Yeah? Medicines, what
Yes.
medicines you need to take? Only fit people go there or everyone can go there? Right? How the medicines need to be made? Can we 3D print medicines?
Yes, sir.
And can we manufacture things what we want by using 3D printing from anything? Right? What else, Swapnil, you think might be important? Since you raised this question. So we are going to a new place. So there, what is the need of a civil engineer in aerospace sector? Fantastic. Who is going to build the, you know, the colonies on Mars? So Subhodhi, some civil engineer has to do it, right? And that has to be done with an advanced technology. And the role of civil engineer in aerospace sector in the current scenario, for example, in India, we need launch pads where we can launch the rockets. Someone has to build a pad, right? That is a huge civil structure involved. It might be metallic, it might be, you know, only cement or concrete. When it comes to reusability or reusable launch vehicles, it goes up, lands. So you need a landing base, which is, you know, efficient enough so that it doesn't deteriorate after every launch. Totally new types of technology are needed in this field. And do you know, how many of you know that tablets are what you do currently, what you have normally, the tablets what we consume for as medicines, they can be 3D printed. Do you know that? And how your nerve cells react when you're in space. What do you eat? Or what do we envisage to eat after going there to Mars? I hope you are able to understand. And Shreyanka, I think you need to stop me when you say you think time is done.
No, sir. So we have time, sir.
Yeah. So can you provide your take on the current scenario of space robotics in India? Why are you thinking about only in India? Who is stopping you, or who is creating the boundaries for you in space robotics in the world? You know, the great Canada arm, where the International Space Station had an arm and they were able to do a lot of maneuvers with the robotic arm in space, right? The same way, China also did a lot of experiments in the recent times where it was able to catch some satellites and deorbit them by using their arms or their technology. Yeah, these are all robotics. Current scenario, don't think that in aerospace sector, okay, there is Elon Musk, we don't need one more Elon Musk. We need lots and lots of Elon Musk. We need a total different thinking, think out of the box. So, we hear this a lot, think out of the box. When you come with a technology solution, be very clear what you can do with that. What are the other possibilities? Who are your competition? You need to be fair enough when you're talking to investors also in that direction. Space robotics has a huge, huge potential. What you can also do, for example, is docking of the satellites or refueling of the satellites in space sector. Yeah. So what you can do is you have your petrol bunk, so-called petrol bunk. You can have it in space and you have the fuels instead of petrol over there. The fuels what are generally used by the satellites, the propellants. Your satellite will come when its fuel is going to get empty. It's going to dock to your, what do you call, the propellant station, and then it's going to fill whatever it wants, and automatically the money will be deducted, and then it continues its orbiting. Isn't it cool to increase the lifetime? So such efficient systems or satellites need also to be made in such a case so that they can dock and undock. Like what, the pods are going to be docked to the space station, humans are going inside and, they come back to Earth. The same way experiments can be conducted where new types of crystals of pharmaceutical manufacturing can be done, in-space manufacturing can be done. So when two metals join in space, what happens? Think about it. It's a cool topic. So, more topics. Space robotics, Rishi Raj. What do you specifically like in space robotics? You can also ask your questions. The Mars rover, fantastic. Yes, the landing experiment, the way people land, how it moves, how much of energy is consumed. The batteries, for example, do we have an answer solution for the batteries? All of you are using your mobile phones, mobile devices. How many days, how many years does your battery last? Do you have a solution for that? There's no solution. Same is the case with these Mars rovers. They have their high-tech batteries which are there. They go on running. They provide beautiful amount of data and a beautiful understanding of the future colonization. Everyone works jointly, hand in hand. We understand a lot from the results what we get from the others. And the interpretation is as per that person or that company. And how it is going to be utilized, it's up to you. For that matter, at your age group, you do not also need to have, the satellites. If you don't have anything, you can also use the Sentinel data to do image processing. Sentinel data is free of cost. Write up programs, do coding, for example, by using AI or ML, where you can use the Sentinel data, which is available free of cost, modify it, give it as a service. Who's stopping you? Join hands in hand with other department people. It's not anymore, what do you call as multidisciplinary. It is currently transdisciplinary. One discipline goes into the other discipline, uses it.
Sir, thank you so much, sir.